let's do it.
Okay, hello, welcome everybody. This is Susie and Rose, and we are going to be talking about real stuff. We've decided as two friends that have met over the internet that we like to chat, but we like to talk about real stuff. We like to talk about truth, and we like to keep it real. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to start off without laughing this time because we have been trying to get on and just say it as it is without laughing. But this is where all good things begin, because we're just going to portray what it's like to have a great conversation without having to stop yourself. We're going to express ourselves the best way possible, talking about deep stuff sometimes, or just talking about fun, because
Sausages.
there we go. The fun already starts with the word sausages, and for whatever reason, Rose, sausages does it for you. It does for Ollykins, my foxhound, not for myself, you know.
I don't even like them.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna zoom in and talk today about life. What's going off today? Earlier we were talking, I don't know if anybody else has realized, but the energies feel really intense right now. So what do I mean by that? It means that sometimes you can wake up and you're feeling really good, but you're feeling something on the collective, meaning that you go out the house and then all of a sudden you're picking up everybody's conversations, you're picking up energy left, right, and center, and you feel as if you're on an emotional roller coaster. And this is what I mean about when you're picking up not only your own energies, and not a lot of people still, I'm unsure, do you meditate? What do you do to keep yourself in check with what's happening on the outside world? So Rose, how did you start with your morning? Do you have a morning routine? Do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, very, very important. I started probably personal development about 16 years ago. Meditation probably came into my life about, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been quite a few years. So, yeah, and it's so easy. So there's none of this sitting there going, People get so afraid of that. Like, I love my clients as well, and people that I just generally chat to, because meditation isn't that. Meditation is about just being present with the moment, and it's okay for the thought. They're gonna, like, we have over 80,000 thoughts a day allegedly. You're not going to stop them, so just let them be. Is when we start paying attention and then we start going into stories, that is when we get distracted. So yeah, I have my morning practice of meditation, yoga, maybe dance. Sometimes I shake, and shaking just helps bring the body back into the present state, and any anxiety or stress just, it sorts that out.
I'm really glad you touched on meditation, because meditation, it's not for everybody. I mean, I have a really busy mind. Yeah, I do tend to meditate. Yeah, I know it's as easy as sometimes just writing down how I'm feeling and what I want to do for the day, rather than going into all that tiswas. Because sometimes when you're sitting in your space, it's all about, a lot of people think you need a blank mind. Now, like Rose just said, thoughts come and go, life experience comes and goes, but nobody, not in my eyes, had told me that this is for your growth and expansion. We never look at growth and expansion. What we tend to do is we sit there thinking you've got to escape everything, become silent, and everything's just going to sail by. But it doesn't work like that. So every experience comes and goes, every emotion comes and goes, and the best thing to remember is it's for your growth and expansion. So it just means if you give yourself 10 minutes, and sometimes you sit there and in that 10 minutes, your head's just giving it one, just let it be, because you've already done your process of,
allowing.
Yes. And that's it. All these words that we'll use, there's a lot of hip words to use. There's a lot of, what is
naughty
it?
words.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm the naughty one.
Yeah, everyone can be naughty. Everyone can be naughty. But let's just, remember that anybody that wants to listen is going to tune in and hopefully get a lot of value, because that's what we want to do. And we only want to give that value because we've been in that position where, things have got a bit messy.
Crazy,
Yeah. And when life gets crazy and when your emotions go all over the place, where can you go? Because nobody actually tells you how to deal with stuff.
Yeah, it's like kind of you find. I mean, I found my way. I found different ways of processing those thoughts, processing the emotions. So whether it's journaling, I do journal as well in the mornings if I remember to bring a pen and paper with me. So there's that, and I highly recommend that, because that, again, it's still a form of meditation, because you're being present to that whatever wants to come out. Like we said, it doesn't have to be just sitting and breathing. While that's amazing and it's got so many benefits to it, everyone is going to find their own unique way of becoming present. So like we say, walking in nature, dancing, journaling,
and not getting so stuck in your head that we're forgetting to laugh in life. This is what we want to do. We want to bring that humor into these conversations, because so many people are getting so stuck. They're not stuck. They're just, there's something going off and they're trying to understand and think about it, but it just makes it worse rather than making you go forward in where you want to be and what you want to do. So it's all about having that conversation and connecting and
allowing what wants to be. And it is, I think humans have now become doing machines they've been like that for thousands and thousands of years, even longer. And instead of being a human doing, we need to get back to human being. I think it's important, isn't it? And being okay with that. Literally, you've got to be okay with it. Like you say, we've got to laugh at the madness now. Like, I used to be so freaking sensitive. Things would just make me, little things, now I just laugh my head off at. But years ago, I just burst into tears and be like, oh, they're being mean to me, they're picking on me. Like, going to that victim mentality, that victim consciousness. And then you get people that will reinforce it and go, oh yeah, poor you, and soothe the ego, rather than going, well, why the fuck am I getting upset about that? Like, what's this about? Like, what are you showing me? But it comes, doesn't it, in time?
Yeah, but that's when we stop being real, when we have to keep covering it up, and that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. We cover it all. We're being shown now, social media, or getting distracted all the time, not to actually be who you truly are, but be who you're supposed to be at work, or be who you're supposed. Don't be the real you, and that's what we're mixed up, aren't we? In that whole kind of. I say it's a social media thing because it depends what people are watching,
And choice, isn't it?
But if we make the right choices and we go it, and it's always knowing that life's not a straight road. It's full of these emotions that are up and down and whoa. So the number one thing to take away is to become aware of what you're feeling, and to acknowledge that. And once you acknowledge it, because sometimes people say, what does acknowledging mean? Well, it's a form of acceptance, isn't it? That, I'm feeling really angry right now, but I know that there's a lot of people that walk around angry and frustrated, but don't even know they're angry and frustrated because they're not aware that they are.
Yeah, and then becomes suppressed, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then the other thing is they start arguing with that anger, believing they are that anger, when, hold on a minute, did something just make you angry? Did you just get triggered by it, or?
And it normally is the trigger, that makes you, and every time we get triggered, it's just an opportunity to look at the self and go, okay, what's this story? Like, what's going on here? How do I come with more love? How do I come with more acceptance into this space? And that's the acknowledgement, isn't it? It's acknowledging that aspect of the self that did feel angry and wasn't acknowledged at the time and space when it was needed to be acknowledged. And I think coming back to that self-love and that acknowledgement, acceptance, and allowing that to be what it wants to be, I think it feels for me very important that we do that. Like, I did a little process a few weeks ago, and I put on heavy metal music, Guns N' Roses, Get in the Ring. I loved it. I literally was like, oh yeah. And I don't listen to that stuff anymore as a rule, but it felt very right for me that I needed to get into that, to give myself permission for that rage and anger to come out, to be acknowledged. And what I did, I have white walls and I like to paint. So what I did, got some red paint and just started splodging the walls and then writing words that come out. And I experienced self-harm for a long time. From the age of 2, I was self-harming right up until my 30s through different ways. It started off with biting, scratching, head-butting walls. And then it just, as you get older, then it's smoking and drinking, and then let's try drugs and, toxic relationships. Again, another form of self-harm, but we don't realise at that point because we don't have that knowledge. We have the knowledge, we're not tapped into it because we've got attached to this human world and we've learned behaviours from the environment around us. So yeah, it's like that acknowledgement, right? I've got feeling fucking primal rage. I need it wants to be heard. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter where it's freaking come from. Just wants to be acknowledged. I'm telling you, so much fun. I ended up on the floor in fits of laughter after, and I felt so good. And then I put on some nice frequency music just to calm themselves down. So they weren't all like, oh, let's have it kind of thing.
But that's it. The thing is, when we're talking on a normal basis, sometimes people can be really stuck in that one emotion. You've just showed clearly how you can move from one emotion to the next. But it's by, like you said, these words of giving yourself permission to allow yourself to feel what's coming up. Because a lot of us, again, I've been a victim to this too, but I wouldn't say victim. I think it's just the way life is, and nobody actually talks about it. So we don't know. So we continue that pattern until something or someone comes along. Sometimes it's the hardest lessons that we have to learn, which are the simplest, but they haven't been simple because nobody's told us, nobody's showing us this is the way to go. So again, the example there of all these emotions that can come up, and I know when I did some work with emotion lands into your body within 90 seconds, it's gone. But it's what we're holding on to. What story are we holding on to? What are we holding on to that we can't let go? And that's what happens. We become like dogs with a bone that we can't let go. And that's when we build up grievances and grudges, and we don't know how to let go of those little things that have happened, but they become bigger because we've suppressed and repressed it.
Yeah, and it becomes a form of protection, which is, we say the ego, it wants to protect, so it uses it as a protection mode, and then that stops us being in that place of love and acceptance and allowing, because it wants to feel safe. So it has that false illusion, but I hold on to that, then I'm safe. But actually, then you're continually in pain, whether it's mentally or emotionally. You're in pain without realising it, and then you keep creating and keep creating and keep creating story after story, adding more and more bullshit up, making a great big pile of it. But yeah, it's how
life as we know it.
Yeah, literally.
It is the truth about life, and we can go through it, and you always have to think about the obstacles that we've had in life. Everybody needs a challenge because that's how life is. You can't sit in one place thinking it's going to be great all the way through it. You're going to have these obstacles and challenges, whether it's people that you don't get on with, whether there's because it's always teaching you something. Now, I never ever thought life was teaching us anything, because again, that's another thing. We don't think life is teaching us anything. We're oblivious to it. Or should we say it's the matrix of life, of what we believe, that, you know, you've got to go out, go to work, earn your money, come back. We're living life the wrong way round, aren't we? Rather than finding what we love, finding what we enjoy, and then taking it from there. Because so many of us have got so many bills, and we put so much on ourselves to do, we forget the true essence of life.
Yeah. And that trust, isn't it? Having faith and trust that it's all going to sort out. How many times I got myself into an emotional state and just like frustration, just pure frustration, because I wasn't trusting that it was all going to be okay. And we have this entitlement. We do. Human beings have this fucking entitlement that we should have it right now, right at this moment, and that should be it. But it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. We have to, you know, we have to get back into that space of trust and feeling safe that it will sort. Because what we don't realise is certain things need to happen that are out of our control in order for what we need to support that feeling safe, feeling secure, bringing stability. Like, yeah, and now I'm like, fuck it. Do you know what? If I can't pay my bill today, fuck it, it'll get paid tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to stress about it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, seriously, what is the worst that can happen? It gets paid a few days later. Oh, wow. Why am I stressing about that? I want to put my energy into doing what I love. I want to put my energy into bringing more joy into my space and keep developing and learning.
And yet again, using the word energy, does everybody know that it's about energy? Because we also take that for kind of, we don't say that everything's energy, do we?
No, and it is. Thoughts, belief, actions, all of it, energy. Energy in motion.
Yeah. That's what every emotion is, isn't it? Yeah. So you can have good energy, bad energy, and it's all about the way you're thinking and feeling. And I always say there's never a bad thought or a good thought. They're an experience for your own growth and expansion.
Yeah, and we've been taught that, haven't we? With that separation that we've all created has taught us negative, positive, good and bad. So it is, like you just said, our perception and what we put onto that determines whether it's good or bad, because there's no success and there's no failure. If you're doing something and it's not working, it's like, step back. Okay, this is what I really want to do. So what's the best way for me to do this that's going to be, you know, we're at a point where I can really enjoy doing it? Are we being redirected? Is that why it's not working out? We don't sit and think about that. We internalise it as a personal attack on ourselves. Not good for our well-being. And I know I've been there, done it, but I've also been quite determined, because I think a lot of the fire energy that I have. So I remember there was a job years ago. It was I was working in for Corals at the time in the administration, and there was an opportunity that come up, and I applied for it, had the interview, and there was a second interview. And then this other girl who'd literally just come in, and she was working the job that I was working previously, literally never worked a day in her life, come in, and because her auntie was best friends with the lady who was doing the interviews, I went into that. I remember going into that, oh, what's the fucking point? She's going to get the job. Like, you know, we all know it's all about who you know. And then I was like, what are you doing? And I got up the next day, I went, no, fuck you, mate. That job's mine. I'm having that. Went for the interview, and I smashed it. Because I knew, really, deep down, like my heart of consciousness knew. But again,
it's a real life experience that people can resonate with. And I guess that's the best way that we want to be able to have these conversations, that you're going to be able to relate to it. And it's just talking as it is and saying it as it is. Because again, we lose so much out of a conversation because people don't say it as it is. And when you don't say it as it is, it gets mishmashed into your own stories, your own thought process, you know. And yet it's so much better to be clear and honest, because the only person really that you're harming out of all of this is yourself if you're not being honest.
Yeah. And build yourself up. Go, yeah, I am fucking awesome. Yeah, I do deserve that job. Yeah, I'm going to get it. Yeah, this is going to happen. Like, have that confidence within your own being that, yes, when it feels right, it's right. If it don't feel right, step back. Just let it go. Why even bother? Why even bother? You're only going to go back into those stories and self-loathing and, just...
The stories that a lot of us believe are our self-concept, which is not true about us. Because when I talk about the true essence, I don't know whether you agree, Rose, and we're going off tangent here, which I knew we would do when we make a conversation. But the true essence of us all is that we're all the same. That's why when you see people and you meet, you can resonate with them, because like you just said earlier, there is no separation, but we created a separation because of the self-concept that we hold about ourselves. So when I talk about self-concept, it's all those shitty things you say to yourself, which is not you, but you believed it about yourself at one point in your life. It's normally when you're a child. So this is how we build up that self-concept. And that's what keeps those programs, that old conditioning about who you are as truth. But it's not the truth. The truth is right here, right now. Not seeing any difference in who we are as people, because we are all the same. Yet it's very difficult for people to think that we're all the same, because we're not brought up in that way to think that everybody's the same. There's got to be, even now, it's like, you know, when we think about branded stuff to not branded stuff and that kind of shit that goes on, and you know, what car you're driving.
Mirror, isn't it? It's a reflection of that separation, and that this is good, this is bad, this is better, that's not. And it is so important, I think, to just let go of that, you know. And this is a question I'm going to pose to anyone that's listening: is take away all your labels of being a mother, father, a sister, a brother, a worker, a mum, like whatever role you're playing out, and what's left. What is left when you strip away all that shit? All those labels, what is left with you? If you're not angry and you're not sad and you're not happy, what is left? There is just your essence.
And your true essence is love. Now, a lot of people will back away from that. And it's took me ages to, you know, I've been doing this philosophy course. I do a course in miracles, and we're all coming down to the same thing. All we are is loving awareness. Now, a lot of people won't be able to accept loving awareness because, number one, they don't believe they are love. And number two, they don't think they're lovable. They're two of the biggest beliefs that I've worked with people in the past, and I still work with today if need be, because, I mean, I've been through it. I mean, the happiness coach that lost a mojo was because I lost sight of the love of the person that I am. Because everybody says we've got to look within, but you're not looking within, because you are love. So that's, you know, when you go down that, I'm going to say spiritual path, because we're both spiritual, meaning that we walk and talk our truth. That's what spirituality is. It's about keeping it real, being who you are, and talking in your truth. Now, a lot of people... there'll be a lot of labels.
I'm more spiritual than you, crap. No, get rid of that.
And
I'm funny, because when I started hearing people going, "Oh yes, I'm very spiritual," and this is not me being disrespectful, but I have to laugh, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if you wouldn't say that, you have no need to say that. There's no reason to justify that. Does that make sense?
We're stripping it back to awareness. It's all about being aware. So whether you heard the term awakening, you've got to seek for this, you've got to seek for that. No, what you see in front of you is love. Now, if you can't see that you are love, that's a limiting belief that you need to start looking at. And just because at the end of the day, this is the truth.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Apologies, my computer just did something.
I think it's because we want to keep this, like, I mean, you know, feel free to share what you think, because we want to make this we want a conversation. So we're going to talk about anything that you want to bring up.
Anything and everything. Yeah, just throw it out there. Literally, you know, there's nothing that's going to phase us. And like I always say, if I get triggered, thank you very much, because there's something there that I need to know about myself, that story needs to go.
Yeah.
So
you have to strip away everything that we've been talking about to know the truth of who you are, which is loving awareness. That's what we're saying. But this is what we want to bring out. We want to make it easy for you to know, because we've been there. You know, like you said, you've been on your journey. It's a life experience. We've all got a life experience that we're all going through, and you're going to have the ups and the downs. So I think on that note, Rose, we can end it for today, because otherwise we can talk forever.
Oh God, yeah, me, I can. I need a cup of tea. I'll be right away.
Yeah. But it's about truth. It's about, so if there's anything you like, anything you see and you think, I'm curious about this, that's really good, because then we can start making those conversations, because that's what we want to do.
This is it. And be curious. Don't be afraid to look at what we call the shadow self, the parts of the self that have been injured, have been hurt, that are in protection mode, because there's nothing to feel shame about. There's nothing to feel guilty. It's just part and parcel of this journey that we're all trying to learn and understand ourselves within it.
And all shame and guilt does, shame and guilt stops us from living. So if any of this resonates, or any of this is like, I want to know more about that, just keep in touch with us, because this is what we want to do. We want to bring more of that, because all it is about your awareness, and it doesn't mean that we're good or bad. We're not talking about that. Nothing is separate here, but it's having that conversation.
Breaking it down to make it simple. But you know what's coming is like next week, talking about acceptance, because that's the first place we want to be starting with, self-acceptance. And I think that would be a really good conversation.
That would be great. And we could actually share an exercise with that. So let's keep it real, keep it tough, because we know people are so busy and in their lives, but you're going to find time to listen to Susie and Rose. Look, you want to start dancing already and think, Susie and Rose, sure.